Hello and welcome to this video series on revenue recognition in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. My name is Henrik Marx Larsen and I'm a principal consultant with Scales, a Danish Microsoft systems integrator. I have worked with Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations and its predecessors for more than 25 years across many industries and geographies. The series consists of 4 episodes. In this, the first episode, I will walk you through the required configuration and set up the project and contract master data. In episode 2, we will create the baseline forecast and the billing schedule, and we will bill the customer. In episode 3, it is all about performing cost and revenue recognition. And in the last episode, we perform the final recognition and eliminate the project. Before we start looking into the system, I just want to spend a couple of minutes on the two revenue recognition accounting rules we have available. With the completed percentage accounting rule, both cost and revenue are released to the P&L in line with the progress made on the project. With a completed contract accounting rule, cost and revenue are accrued in the balance sheet and does not get released to the P&L until the project is complete. The accounting rule is governed by the project group, so we need to set up the project groups applicable to our accounting requirements. So to get us started, I am going to set up the project group we need for the fixed price revenue recognition. So I go to the project management and accounting module down here. I go to setup, the posting submenu, and in here we have the project group. So I'm going to open that up. I've already created a project group for us here called FP_CP. Now, the important thing here is obviously that the project type is fixed price. I think that goes without saying. What we need to look at here is predominantly the estimate tab. So I will go down here and open the estimate tab. As you can see here, I have selected the completed percentage accounting rule. This is what we discussed earlier on. The calculation method and the matching principle is more about how do we want to recognize the revenue. In this case, my matching principle is sales value, and that means I do not split my revenue into a production part or a profit part. It can be done if that's a requirement where we need the production part of the revenue to go to one account and the sales value to go to another account. In terms of the sort of revenue recognition based on the cost that we incur, I have selected a default cost template. I will come back to cost templates in a minute. And I have also selected a period code, and that the period code obviously governs how often we want to perform the revenue recognition. And then lastly, I need to select a category over here for the revenue that we are actually going to recognize. Without the category, the system is simply not going to do the revenue recognition, so we need that. Down here we have the cost account and the revenue account for the project groups. I'm not going to talk too much about those right now. I will look at them when we come to do the actual revenue recognition. So next we will configure the cost template. It is not a strict requirement to do revenue recognition, but I think it's a more elegant approach. I'll come back to that when we do the revenue recognition, why I think that. But we will go to the project management and accounting module again, and we will now go to the setup tab here. We will go to estimates, and down here there's actually only one menu point on the estimates. It's called cost template. Now, the cost template is essentially a bit of configuration that decides how we are going to use the cost that we have incurred to actually recognize revenue. Now, you can see here, the one I'm going to use in my example is this one here called auto amount. And this is because over here I have set my completion is based on the amount that I have incurred. You see down here there's also a cost template using quantity. Now, in my and this is obviously more of a company policy whether you want to use the amount that you have incurred as your sort of tracker of progress or whether it's the quantity. If your project is heavily leaning towards materials, then you probably want to use quantity. In this case, and the example I'm going to show in the next episode, I am predominantly going to use expenses and time. So therefore, I really want to use the amount to measure my progress. Now, for the auto amount up here, I'm going to click on the cost lines. And theoretically, I could have as many cost lines as I like, but in this case, I only have three. I have one cost line for all my expenses, I have one for time, and I have one for the materials I am using on the project. And you can see out here on the right-hand side, there is a tick in the box percentage of completion, and that means that the expenses or the costs that go into this cost category will actually be part of the completion calculation. So I can actually have costs on a project where I say, actually, the materials I consume, so even though I consume them, they incur costs on the project. I don't actually want them to increase my completion percentage. So again, decisions that you have to make. If I go back to the expense line here, obviously that's where all the travel and sort of the miscellaneous stuff goes into. If I click here on the categories tab, you will see over here I've only selected one category here, and that means that it's only if I incur expenses in this specific category that will actually increase the percentage completion. So not only can we say what type of cost that we want to be included in the completion calculation, but we can also decide specifically what categories will influence the completion percentage. So very important to get the cost template configured correctly. So we come to the stage where we're going to create the project structure and the related contract. So I go to project management and accounting, projects, and my projects. That's currently empty because I don't have any active projects. So I'm going to create a new one here. Now I'm going to go up here and obviously select the project type fixed price because we are going to run this as a fixed price project. We are going to call it Big Machine. We need to pick the project group. That was the one I set up early on. And obviously, since I've selected the project type fixed price, it's only going to give me the fixed price project group. Pick the one I created. Now, I could create or pick an existing contract, but in this case, I'm going to create a new contract. So I click plus here. And we are also going to call that Big Machine because it's only for this particular machine. Obviously, the funding type is customer. So we are going to build a customer here. The client is, or the customer is Big Tech. So we okay that. That's really all we need to do to create the project contract header right now. It's just a placeholder. And before I create the header project, I'm just going to select the project manager, and that's going to be Julia. There we go, Julia. And we select her and we create project. So obviously we are now at a stage where we created the header project as a fixed price project. That's just going to take a second. What we're going to do now, because the project I have in mind is in two phases. So for each phase, I'm going to create a sub-project. So on the header project, I'm going to go to new sub-project. Obviously, it will inherit everything from the header project. So it's also a fixed price. So I'm just going to call it phase one, and everything else is just going to be inherited from the header project. So I create the sub-project. Now, what I'm going to do now on the sub-project, and you don't necessarily have to do this, depends on the business requirement. I will go and open the revenue recognition tab here. And in the drop down here, I will actually select the header project. And this is because even though I run the two sub-projects as individual phases, I actually want my revenue recognition to take place on a header level. So I don't have to go to each individual sub-project. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I was running 20 or 50 sub-projects. it will be a lot easier for me to perform the revenue recognition on a header level. So I point my first sub-project, the phase 1 sub-project, to the header project for revenue recognition. Just going to save that, go back to the hierarchy here to my header project, and I say I create a new sub-project, and we're going to, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to call that phase 2, create that. And I'm going to do the same thing for the phase 2 project down here. I'm also going to point that to the header project. State that. So we are now, if I just go back to the hierarchy here, we now have a header project and we have 2 sub-projects, one for each phase, but both sub-projects will have revenue recognition performed on the header project. So we are now at a stage where we have a project group that governs how we recognize revenue. We have a cost template to govern how we use the cost that we've incurred to actually calculate the completion percentage. And now we have a project structure with a related contract header. In the next episode, we will bill the customer, record some costs, and set up the baseline forecast. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.